came about from two initiatives really within the wellbeing centres. The first one, we'd been commissioned by Liverpool City Council to run digital road testing sessions. This is when 18 service users road tested different online platforms and mental health websites. During the whole process, what they found is the blogs and the websites that worked well were the ones where it was much more interactive and people could share their experiences of mental health recovery. And alongside this then, we'd noticed within our conversations with service users at the centres, a lot of people were doing their own blogs, so blogging for their own mental health recovery. And after following these myself, it really made a deep impression really in the fact that it's not only therapeutic, blogging is not only therapeutic for individual service users but also for the readers of the blogs. It inspires hope and inspiration. The funding came from Liverpool CCG. They started providing grants for small voluntary sector organisations. So voluntary sector organisations could apply for £10,000, and this was to obviously for innovation. So unfortunately PSS was too big an organisation to go for it, so I thought of Kindred Minds. So I approached Kindred Minds and they asked me to pitch the idea at the next committee meeting, which I did, and it was received really well. They all could see the potential of a Liverpool-wide wellbeing blog. So they decided to lead on the bid, and we got Toxic TV involved, and they provide the kind of technological expertise. So we did the bid really quickly, and within 3 months we found that we were really successful. So we were awarded a grant of £10,000, and Wellpool was a goer.
I think what was important with this project is that we didn't just create just another website or just another blog, that nobody would use. So instrumental to them first development sessions that we ran with groups of people who would be using and making the blog was to create something that was useful and that had a purpose and that had a clear vision for the people it wanted to engage with. So to start that process, we started looking at other blogs, other similar things, and did like some basic deconstructions, some critiques of them, what worked about them, what didn't. We then started to develop our own ideas from that, so that included, like what features we wanted from the site, what we wanted people to be able to do with it, what we wanted it to look like, what colours worked best, what its purpose was, what the audience was, and started to really start to think about that a bit more. How we approached delivering blogging courses and delivering the kind of like technical skills is we actually ran community reporting courses. Community reporting is a storytelling movement that provides people with a voice to tell their own stories, to tell other people's stories, to talk about what's happening in their communities, different issues, things like that. So we started with story. We started looking at existing stories, we started looking at writing techniques, looking at ways in which we could structure stories, and then we introduced the technology, starting with photography, because that's probably one of the more simpler uses. Everyone can probably take a photograph, but then started to unpick that a bit more. How could we take better photographs? How could we edit them? How do we tell stories with pictures? And then from that we moved on to audio, so looking at sound and the pros and cons of sound, and in certain instances sound is great if people don't want to necessarily be identified because what they're talking about is quite personal. In other instances sound might not be the best thing, or we might want to use sound with some images. From there we moved on to looking at video, which is obviously combining moving image and audio together. So we kind of like built the skills, if that made sense. And the way we approached it was, rather than people working on their own all the time, we tended to work in like teams of like 3 or 4 working on a project together. And what you'll find is that they're naturally people who are good at writing scripts, or naturally people who are good at interviewing, so maybe some of the less technical skills. And then there's people in those groups who are like proper techies, or who like playing with gadgets, or who really like editing on a computer. So therefore, if we mix the groups up like that, everyone's contribution was really valid, and everyone had something they were really good at, but they could learn from each other as well, so there was a lot of peer learning going on. I think in mind I've got some really great plans for Wellpool going forward. When we were first designing it, we was aware that we couldn't have all the features that we wanted on the website in the initial bid, because we just didn't have the time, didn't have the budget to develop it in that way. Some of those things that we're going to be developing soon are around its accessibility. So we're going to be looking at subtitling videos, we're going to be looking at having transcripts for audio files and having audio files for written stories so that more people can engage with the content. As well as that, we're going to be running some more community reporting courses so people can use the site to tell their stories, can learn digital skills on the way, tell other people's stories from their communities, things like that. So then the site will constantly have new content going on and a lot of people engaging with it, so it's looking really great.